If you already watched my last video, you already know if you don't have buyers, you don't have a business. But here's the bigger problem. Some of you picked a market that doesn't even have buyers. And if that's the case, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not going to close deals because you can't sell something if nobody is actually buying. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They pick a market based on where they live, where it's cheap, or where they think there's opportunity. But they never ask the most important question. Are investors actually buying here? And there's another part nobody talks about. Some markets are just brutal for beginners, especially high-priced markets like California, New York, parts of Washington, because when housing prices are high, competition gets aggressive. And when you combine high prices and low affordable housing, that's one of the hardest environments for a new wholesaler because now you're competing against experienced investors, big marketing budgets, established relationships, and the margins get tighter. So if you're brand new, trying to get your first deal, you need to understand this. Not every market gives beginners a fair shot. It's kind of like deciding to learn how to play basketball and your first game is against Michael Jordan. That's what some beginners are doing in these hyper-competitive markets. So instead of forcing a difficult market, sometimes the smarter move is choosing a better one. Because if the answer is no, you're in the wrong place. Let me break this down. There are markets where investors are active, deals are moving, cash buyers are everywhere. And then there are markets where hardly any investor activity, very few cash transactions, properties just sit. And if you're in that type of market, you can cold call all day, send marketing, talk to sellers, and still get no deals. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because the market doesn't support it. So here's the shift right here. Stop asking, where should I market? Start asking, where are investors already buying? Because that's the game. You don't create demand, you step into demand that already exists. Let me give you a simple way to think about this. If you go into an area and you don't see cash transactions, that's a red flag. But if you go into a market and you see renovations happening, properties being bought and resold, investors actively buying deals, now you know there's real demand there. And this ties directly back to what we talked about. If you don't have buyers, you don't have a business. But if your market doesn't have buyers, you don't even have a chance. And that's why some people struggle for months switching markets and suddenly start getting deals. Same effort, completely different result. So maybe your problem isn't effort. Maybe you're just trying to build in a market that was never built for beginners. Once I realized that, I stopped forcing deals, I stopped chasing random markets, and I started focusing on areas where buyers were already active. That's when everything changed. And if you're starting to realize your market might actually be the problem, go ahead and subscribe, because in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how I choose a beginner-friendly market if I had to start over from scratch.